Pascal, welcome to Fortune, and thank you so much for joining us. Let's begin our conversation talking about COVID. Your company, AstraZeneca, played a very important role in the research and delivery of a COVID vaccine. As you look back on your development efforts, what would you say were the upsides and the downsides?
So if I look at this vaccine, if I look at it in aggregate, first of all, I think it was a great success in the sense that it delivered a huge impact on this pandemic globally. We delivered 3.5 billion doses of vaccines, and it has been independently estimated that we saved more than 6 million lives. Actually, our vaccine is the vaccine that saved the most lives around the world. Now, within this, of course, we faced setbacks. For instance, we had challenges in deliveries of the quantities that Europe was expecting of us. So we faced a few challenges like we always do with projects in our industry. But I would say overall, we had a huge impact on this global pandemic.
Now that you can look back on that period, is there anything you would have done differently?
I can't think of anything that, not knowing what we know today, that we would have done differently. Now, what I would have hoped, though, if something like this happened again, is to start from the very beginning. We joined the University of Oxford in May of 2020, and they had already done a lot of work. Other companies started their projects in January, February of 2020. And these 5 months of difference created, of course, a bit of a hurdle for us in terms of catching up to the work that needed to be done to bring this development to what was required for global regulators around the world. So I would have hoped to start earlier. But other than that, I think we just gave it our best shot, if I may say so.
Well, I'm sure you learned so much about COVID over the last 2.5 years. From everything that you've learned, is COVID here to stay? I mean, do you see a day where we won't be talking about COVID infections and hospitalizations?
I think COVID is here to stay, and most experts would agree with that. I'm hoping that a time will come where we don't talk as much about it because we've learned to live with it. People get boosted with regular vaccine injections. Probably older people need to be boosted more often than young, healthy people. But we will learn to live with it and manage it just like we manage the flu and many other viral diseases.
So, Pascal, what's your vision for AstraZeneca? What do you want it to be best known for?
We want to be known as a company that follows the science and innovate and discovers products that will really change the treatment of important diseases in cancer, cardiovascular disease, respiratory disease like asthma, COPD, rare diseases. And more recently, we engaged in infectious diseases for vaccines and immune therapy. And ultimately, we want to be seen as a company that really shapes the future of medicine.
Well, it's a year now since you bought Alexion. You paid almost $40 billion for this pharma company based in the United States. How does Alexion fit into your plans?
It fits very well, actually, and it helps us expand our portfolio to include rare disease medicines. And it's gone very well so far. We are using the AstraZeneca network globally to bring the Alexion products to a variety of countries, China, emerging markets. And so we are really helping them distribute the products globally. And our research and development teams are also working together. So the Alexion team can leverage the AstraZeneca technologies to develop and deliver new medicines for rare diseases. So it's going very well so far.
Well, do you have a blockbuster drug that's in the works and ready for the market?
Yes, we are helping Alexion globalize a product that they launched recently called Ultomiris, which is a product that addresses a variety of rare diseases. The more recent set of data we got was in a disease called NMOSD, which is a disease that affects the optical nerve, and essentially people go blind. And it's an awful disease because you lose your eyesight, then you recover it, and you lose it again. And over a period of time, it gets worse and worse, and you become blind. And until now, the treatments were not really very, very strong and very good. And so this compound really has tremendous clinical results.
You mentioned that you are also doing a lot with cancer drugs and treatments. What other promising drugs do you have in the pipeline that would interest our viewers?
Which is a product that is used for the treatment of breast cancer. and has recently shown absolutely outstanding results.
Well, it sounds like you have some really big plans for AstraZeneca. Do you intend to go it alone, or are you open to a merger?
We have the critical mass. We have a global footprint. We have large turnover, large resources. So we don't need a merger. And certainly that's not our priority. Our priority is more to do what we call bolt-on acquisitions, which is to complement our own pipeline with products we acquire from the outside.
Are you interested more as being a buyer or a seller?
Well, we are mostly a buyer. We are in a position today that we can definitely consider acquiring products or companies. But again, as I said, mostly small to mid-sized companies that we can add to our portfolio and make strategic sense for us to complement what we are doing.
Well, investors still talk about Pfizer's huge offer to buy AstraZeneca from a couple of years ago. Any regrets or second thoughts about that merger didn't go through?
Well, first of all, today I've learned in life to not regret what I've done in the past. But in that instance, I will only tell you that our share price in the last 10 years has quadrupled. It is today $67, and it has doubled since Pfizer made the offer. So I think the share price evolution over the last few years since Pfizer made the offer has demonstrated that we could create a lot of value on our own for our shareholders, but also more importantly, for patients. We have brought to patients many, many new medicines that make a big difference to the treatment of cancer, cardiovascular disease, and many other conditions.
So no regrets of that you could have been a much bigger company?
Well, actually, no regret. I mean, in our industry, really the focus has to be to innovate and come up with new medicines. It's very simple. You have to help patients with new innovative medicines. The goal can't be to be very big. It has to be to innovate and create value through innovation, and that's what we've done.
Well, let's talk a little bit about leadership and your leadership, Pascal. AstraZeneca is a much stronger company to when you took over back in 2012. What do you see as the key thing that you did as a CEO and as a leader to transform AstraZeneca into a powerhouse pharma company? You mentioned that your stock has almost quadrupled during your leadership, but also you've gotten sales and revenues so much stronger. So what was the most important thing that you did to pull this all off?
I think making clear choices and choosing innovation and science, which many people might say today is obvious, but 10 years ago, the industry was in a different place. So creating this focus and this set of choices, building a team. We have a tremendous team today, attracting the right people who can make a big difference. And finally, creating a culture where people really share our common ambition, which is to be an innovator and a company that wants to shape the future of medicine.
Well, you're celebrating your 10th anniversary as CEO. What are you most proud that you've done in this last decade? What's your proudest accomplishment?
Well, actually, to see the impact that our medicines are having on patients is really extremely rewarding. I can tell you, I was at this cancer congress in Chicago a few months ago at the ASCO, and being in a room and have tens of thousands of oncologists from around the world giving a standing ovation to results we presented there, not we, but the investigator presented, is incredibly rewarding because you're shaping the future of medicine, you're shaping the way cancer is treated. So that's what I'm the most proud of. And of course, the team and the people working for the company and to see them grow and develop has been incredibly rewarding.
Well, you were recently awarded a knighthood from Queen Elizabeth for your contributions to science and all of your work on the COVID vaccine. So, Sir Pascal, what's your reaction to this high honor? What does it mean to you?
It's incredibly humbling. I come from very modest beginnings, and my career has been, moving around the world, always focused on pharmaceuticals and bringing new medicines to the market. And being rewarded with this knighthood by the Queen is, of course, incredibly humbling and something I've had to take a little bit of time to get my head around because, I'm not British. And this has been quite a remarkable achievement for me.